guys, in this video I'm going to show you how you can take your footage and give it that Super 8 film look in DaVinci Resolve. I'll also provide the overlays used for free in this video in the description below. So let's get started. Here are our two clips we're going to use. One of a town and one of a woman on a bike, like that. The Super 8 camera is a handheld camera, so if you have still footage, we're going to need to add some camera movement to that. So this first shot has a little bit of movement, but we're going to want to add a bit more. So we're going to come over and add a bit of camera shake to this first shot. Now you can see that is way too much. So we're just going to scale this back, and we're actually going to want to include a bit more pan and tilt. Cool, so that's just added just a little bit more movement that we're looking for. So the first thing I like to do is add a bit of grain and crush our blacks just a little bit, because that's what that Super 8 look gives us. I have a film grain overlay here, which we can just drop on top. I'm going to remove the audio, trim it up. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is come over to our composite and change this to soft light. So you can see here, it's really made our shot a lot darker. We don't want that, so we're just going to dial back the opacity. Somewhere around 50% looks good. Now you'll notice in a lot of Super 8 footage, it's got a very slight red tint. So we're going to just add our red overlay here. And for this layer here, because we want the red tint to come through, we're going to select screen on our composite mode. So you can see if I turn it on and off, it's kind of lifted it and given it that slight warmer red look. Same with this one. Okay, now we can add the Super 8 border. And for this one, we're going to choose hard light. So there's our border. You can see our shots are getting closer, but they're still not quite there. So the next step I like to do is add some halation. This is available if you have a DaVinci Resolve Studio. So we'll come over here and search for, add it to our clip. And under effects, open up, and we just want to kind of push our highs just a little bit. So you can see if we've turned that off and on, that actually does quite a lot to our shot, gives us that retro look. So if we apply it to our other clip as well, yeah, you can really see it just around here taking effect. The next effect we're going to use is just a simple blur. The way we're going to use this is really minimal, right down at about 15 to 20%. We're not going to use much of our blur, just a little bit so you can just notice that it's there. So if we turn it on and off, it's just taking away a bit of that sharpness. And we'll do the same with our other clip. That's all we want to do with this blur, is just take away a little bit of the sharpness of it. So we're going to turn the global blend right down. There we go. Right, next effect we're going to use is something called motion trails. I'm going to drop this on, and it just kind of gives us a bit more movement to our shot, making it look kind of older and more retro. But again, we're going to use this in a really, really small amount. So we'll come down to our global blend, crank this right back. And we'll do the same for our cyclist. You can see that's way too high. So we'll pull that right back. So if we have a look at the three effects we've just put on here, we turn them all off, you can see it still looks like a very modern digital clip with just an overlay. But now with these 3 effects we've put on, definitely brings it back to more that retro looking vibe. And the last thing I like to do is just add a really small amount of lens flare. So we have an overlay here, which is going to drop into the middle. Now you can see that's a lot of lens flare going on. We don't want that much at all. So first things first is we're going to change the composite mode to screen. And you can see that's still really obvious and doesn't look that good. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase the size of this quite a lot. Nice and big. And then on the opacity, just bring this right down to around the mid-20s. And there you can see it just slightly pushing there, slightly pushing here. And that's how we get that vintage Super 8 look to our modern shots. If you'd like to try this yourself, there's a link to the overlays used in the description below.